Okay, Maestro, hit it.
I'm Wally Boat. I didn't know you knew Mickey Mouse.
Museum of the Weird.
The dawn of a new era.
Just a dream away.
Hello and welcome to the Disney Record Guy YouTube channel. Today I am thrilled to be joined by someone who walked Disneyland with Walt, though he had to do it barefoot. We're joined today by Disneyland's first Tom Sawyer, Disney Legend Tom Nabbe. Tom, how are you doing?
I'm doing fine. How about yourself?
Doing great. It's a great Cinco de Mayo, so it's a wonderful time to get to talk to you.
Looking forward to it.
I'll go ahead and I have a little slideshow we'll get going. So here we are starting at the beginning. Now you were saying, we were talking just a second ago, you were saying this was pre-Tom Sawyer in this photo right here.
Yeah, if you look at the background, you can see the stacks of the Mark Twain. And then that's the rivers of America behind me, and the island hasn't been developed yet. Where I'm standing, if you look at it today, you'd be looking at pretty much the entrance to Fort Wilderness, which would be right behind my head.
Oh, gotcha. That's so neat, though.
This is one of those that Eddie Mac would say, hey, go get that red-headed kid. We'll use him in this publicity shot. And what they were doing is they were stopping the rivers. Well, I wanted to hear frogs and stuff going. So those are two big bullfrogs that I'm holding. And if you look over to my left, there's a bag, the gunny sack, and there's probably another dozen bullfrogs in that bag. And they stocked the rivers and the bullfrogs.
So they brought these bullfrogs in for you. I wasn't sure if they were...
Yeah, they brought them. So in the evening, you get your own.
So, also starting off from your book, you mentioned a lot in your book as a young boy. Your mom used to drag you out to a lot of Hollywood red carpet premieres. What movies were you on the red carpet for?
The one that I remember that my mother was chasing Jerry Lewis and Dean Martin down an alley trying to get their autograph was, I want to say, The Caddy. It came out in 1953 or 54, somewhere in that month.
So we have that picture there.
That's about 2-3 years before they broke up as a comedy pair.
Did she end up getting their autograph after chasing them?
Yeah, she did. Absolutely. I watched my two younger sisters as she went galloping down the alleyway to catch up with her and get the autograph.
That's so great, though. And and we'll get into it later on about how that celebrity fanning, how it would end up paying off for you on Disneyland's opening day. And we'll go back real quick. This is a picture of young Tom right here. Well, when was this picture? How old are you?
Yeah, I want to say I'm just about 5, maybe 6 years old, but 4 or 5 years old. And then this was when we were living in Phoenix, and this was in the Phoenix newspaper. Every year I put this on my website. I put it up on December 1st, and I take it down on January 1st.
It's a great Christmas photo.
So
later
I'm
on, we'll get
talking to Walt, to Santa there, telling him that Walt Disney behind.
So later on, we can see some of the pictures here of Disneyland's construction. Your mom decided when Walt announced plans for Disneyland, she wanted to be near it. So you as a kid end up packing up and you moved to Disneyland. You mentioned in your book you even used to sell newspapers to the Disneyland construction workers. What was that like?
When we moved from LA to Anaheim, Anaheim was considered rural. And in order to have a daily newspaper route, you had to be 16 and have a driver's license and a car. I was only 12. But I was able to get a Sunday paper route. And in turn, I developed that into about 20, 25 customers in the neighborhood. and then my paperman would give me whatever leftover papers he had, and I had a little cart, and I would pull my bike over to the Harbor Gate at Disneyland, and that's where all the construction workers would come in and go out, and they were working through shifts. So I get there just about the time the third shift was getting off, and I sell out my Sunday newspapers to the construction workers. And at that time, that's when I met Joe Ahmet, and Joe and Ray had the Castle News in session on Main Street. And when Disneyland opened up, they had a newspaper called the Disneyland News, and they asked me if I wanted to sell that, and to whom absolutely. I said, okay, every morning we'll be in front of the Magic Kingdom. And if you go into the Magic Kingdom at Walt Disney World and Disneyland, and I think at Tokyo and Paris, the merchandise stand on the left-hand side was actually called the newsstand. And back in the 50s, it was a newsstand. And it carried all the newspapers from Orange County and LA County and the Wall Street Journal and that type of thing. And they also published Disneyland News, which was before they were selling guidebooks. They told a little bit of the history of Disneyland and all the lessees that Walt money and that type of thing that had businesses inside Disneyland that advertised in the Disneyland News. And it sold for 10 cents a copy. And it was a monthly publication.
And there was a deal if you sold so many papers, you got to go into Disneyland. Is that right?
Yeah. If I had to sell 100 papers outside in the morning to the people that were standing in line, and once we did that, then we were able to go inside. And those of us that were pretty active got that done in a very short period of time. And we wanted to get inside, okay, before they let the guests in, and we'd run over to Tomorrowland, and we'd help stage the Topia cars and drive them around one trip around and get them lined up. So when the guests came in, the cars were all lined up and ready to get on.
Oh, I'm sure that was a very thrilling job for a young boy.
Oh, yeah, I wanted to drive those Topia cars so bad. That was one of the things on opening day. We had watched part of it on television, and then we walked on over to Disneyland, and that's when my mother was out front getting autographs, and I was sort of around the corner by the Harbor Gate and trying to get an eyeball on those trophy cards. I really wanted to do that, and that's when my mother approached Danny Thomas for an autograph, and he cordially gave it to her. They sort of leaned forward and said, "You'll get to get in the park." And she said, "Oh, no, we weren't invited." He said, "Well, I got a couple extra tickets if you like them." And so he gave my mother 2 tickets to the premiere press opening of Disneyland. So we went into Disneyland as a guest of Danny Thomas on July 17th.
Which, going back to the opening day photos of Disneyland, I mean, you can just see the excitement on all of these kids' faces and, like, just running down for the attraction. What was the opening day like once you actually finally got inside the gate?
Well, once we got inside the gate, it was total confusion. Probably one of the proudest, I'm not sure if that's a word or not, attendance with all the people that were in there for the TV show. And then after that, they opened it up for the invited guests to come on. And by the time we got in, everything had broke down. Mother and I had made arrangements that we'd meet by the carousel in Fantasyland. And so she walked through some of the shops on Main Street. And I headed right over to Tomorrowland to drive an Autopia car. But by the time I got there, all the cars were broke down. It's sort of neat. This picture here, during this time frame, highway patrol was a very popular TV show. Yeah, and they had, I'm going to say four cars made up like the California Highway Patrol. And they had red lights and a siren, and they didn't have a governor on it. The other cars were going down to about 5 to 7 miles an hour, but the police cars didn't. And if you look, they're in the track there. Originally, there were a couple areas where you could pass. They get cars turned around and pushed around, and it was a little bit of a challenge to the guys that worked out there. Used to call it Blood Alley, because you could get tagged one way or another between that bumper and the curb. The one shot we're looking at there, that's Steve Martin and his son. And the guy I talked about earlier, the manager of Publicity, is the gentleman standing in the back of the suit. His name is Eddie Beck. He's also a Disney legend. And one of the jobs that I had selling newspapers, and I helped run the stand and give Joe and Ray a break. But they would go through the newspapers every day and sort out the editorial sections and that type of thing. And I would haul that up to Eddie's office, and it was at City Hall. And that's how I got to meet Eddie and a good host of people in Publicity. And in return, I ended up in a lot of publicity shots. Eddie took a liking to me, and he told his photographers when they were going out, look at that red-headed kid, look at that Tom guy, we'll use him in this shot. This is one of those that Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis came into the park, and the headline that Joe and Ray would put your name in the headline if you wanted, and they did wanted posters also. So they put your name in the wanted poster if you wanted to get that. Steve Martin worked for them and set type and put people's names in the headline in the paper. There's also
that's right. I forgot that. And before he did the magic shop.
Yeah, if you look at this picture, there's a little kid cut off in the background by Felton's arm there. Yeah, that's Jerry Lewis's son, Gary. Okay.
Oh, wow. So.
And what was interesting is Jerry had a photographer there. They were taking 16 millimeter motion pictures. And he wasn't real happy with his photography. You could tell by the expression on his face. That he was in the process of doing some direction with his photographer.
Now, this next photo I do want to ask you about. You ended up selling a paper to former President Richard Nixon. I think, well, he's vice president at the time, I believe. How did you manage to get Richard Nixon to buy the Disneyland newspaper? Yeah,
that was in the winter of I want to say 55. It could have been early 56 that Nixon was in the park, and I was in Pennington, and one of the guys in Pennington bet me a buck to a dime that I couldn't sell Nixon a paper. And I took the guy up because that was for 10 papers. Hey, but I took the guy up on the bet. And I introduced myself to candidate Nixon and asked him if he'd like to buy a paper. And he originally said no. And I said, well, my mother does vote. And at that point, he bought a paper.
Oh yeah, you gotta can't lose that vote. That's essential. That's so great, though.
Yeah, but this picture was in 1950. I want to say 1959. This picture after they built the monorail and the subs and the Barefoot.
Oh, right. You also did some publicity shots with the net. What would they usually pull you for? And did you talk with a lot of the Mouseketeers?
Yeah, I don't think it ever got published, but I came in early in the morning and I drove around. The guys let me drive rafts in the morning before we opened up. So at that night, I went on the raft and parked over by the fishing piers, and they took some shots. I was in probably a half dozen Mickey Mouse newsreels. The one that I remember vividly was Jungle Cruise that supported Mattel. Mattel machine gun, I think it is. Very popular at that time.
What was the net like, and what were some of the? Was she kind of like swarmed by the fans when you would be doing stuff at Disneyland, or?
Well, I'd like to say I had a whole lot of interactions with the net. I probably saw a net more when I worked at the Circus. I worked in wardrobe at the Firehouse Club Circus. And one of my jobs there was helping the Mouseketeers' parents get dressed for the finale of the circus twice a day. And matinee show and an evening show that I used to help Bobby Burgess, mother was Chip Dale, and my dad's brother was Flower, the skunk, the Dandy. And they pretty much had a classroom all set up back there for them. And they had their to-dos, and I would get there right after school. I'd ride my bicycle over and try to get to 4 o'clock, because that's when the circus would start.
Which I do have some more questions about this circus, so I definitely want to circle back to that a little bit later. But eventually, you go from selling newspapers to Disneyland's first Tom Sawyer. Parade magazine has this headline from 1957 referring to you as the luckiest kid in the world. How did you manage to become Tom Sawyer?
Well, selling newspapers, and in turn, Walt was in the first collector with him, and he stated that, I think y'all know it, he had a partner of the fire station, and there's a stairway that went down on the back side of that. And somebody had told me that Walt had made a decision to build Tom Sawyer's Island on the rivers of America. And he looked just like Tom Sawyer should ask Walt for a job. So I thought that was a good idea. And so in turn, I found Walt, and he was coming down out of his apartment. There was a little break area back there. That's where the jungle was stored. Also, and I introduced myself, and I told him that I looked just like Tom Sawyer, and he was going to build Tom Sawyer's Island, and he should hire me to be Tom Sawyer. Well, he didn't, but he said think about it. And so for almost the next year, anytime I could find Walt, I'd ask him if he was still thinking about hiring me to be Tom Sawyer. And one time, we were sitting there talking, and he said, I could put a dummy, or was it a man? One or the other, I could put over on Tom Sawyer's Island, and we'd be thinking every 5 minutes for a hot dog and Coke.
Which I love that quote. That is like quintessential Walt Disney right there. It is just really wonderful quote.
Yeah.
Now for the grand opening, I have a picture here of Tom Sawyer and Becky Thatcher, but you're not the Tom in the pic. So who are these two?
And what they did is they invited the winners of the Tom Sawyer and Becky Thatcher contest from Hannibal, Missouri. And they have a contest every year, and they usually select at least 3 or 4 couples demand, and so they need a couple sets of Tom Sawyers and manufacturers. And when we opened Tom Sawyer Island at Walt Disney World, we did the same thing. We invited the kids in for the opening. That was 1973.
Which we'll get to those photos too, because it is fun really seeing the older Tom having to bust out that straw hat again. So we established this one wasn't the Tom Sawyer picture, but we'll go to this one right here.
Yeah, that's a bread and hot dogs and Cokes.
They catch up to you, I'm telling you. It's they catch up to you.
I've always had a weight problem almost all my life, so I've always been kind of fatter most of the time.
Trust me, it happens to everyone. Can you walk me through what your first day as Tom Sawyer was like?
One more time.
Can you walk me through what your first day as Tom Sawyer was like?
Oh, okay. We had stocked the rivers America with bluegill, catfish, and sunfish. And they had fenced off an area around the fishing docks. The fishing docks were just opposite the White Land. So if you look at old pictures around 55, probably mid-60s, you could see their pylons out there, and around that pylon they had put a net, and they stopped the fishing inside the net. Okay, so there was 2 fishing docks, and we had 25 fishing poles on each dock. And that first job was to build the fishing poles, and they were cane, bamboo cane poles with a hook, a sinker, and a cork on it. And we maintained those. So in turn, I come in the morning and get the fishing poles out, and we had cans nailed to the railing on the dock, and then put potting soil in there, and then put worms in the can for baits for the guests. So I would either pose for a lot of pictures, okay, or if somebody wanted to hook baited, I would bait the hook. I untangled a lot of fishing lines, and when we originally opened, there was a little area over by the restrooms on the second fishing pier where I could clean the fish and put it in a plastic bag if somebody really wanted to take it home. That only lasted maybe a month. About a month, and old dead fish started showing up in some weird places. And so they decided to change the policy from catch and release, and they debunked all of those.
I think that was probably a good idea. I would imagine it would not be the best smell, and I'm sure Walt would not be happy about that. Had you grown up fishing a lot before becoming Tom Sawyer, or was this just something you just picked up for the job?
If you sort of look at it, I was a newspaper boy. I worked all the holidays. Okay, once I became Tom Sawyer, I worked the island was only open on the weekends. Okay, so I worked every weekend and every holiday and every summer all through my junior high school and high school years. And it wasn't until actually 1962 when I became a ride operator and wasn't Tom Sawyer anymore, until I finally had a vacation. Okay? Which a lot of people don't quite realize that in order for me to keep that job, number one, I had to maintain at least a C average in school. And one of the requirements was that I would have to bring in my report card, and Walt would feel it, and later he delegated that to Dick News to review my report card. all high school, with that as part of our additional planning. These two shots were pretty much shot the same day. They were at Saturday evening focus on Disneyland and something. Sitting on the railing with Walt, when we're sitting on the railing together, without the fishing poles, we're on a raft on the mainland side. And they sort of looked at me and said, Tom, just look at me and smile. I do this all the time. And then the photographer really wanted the Mark Twain in the background, and that shot probably took close to 2 hours to get, because the boat would take 18 minutes on a cycle. Okay, so yeah. And they didn't stop the boat for the photographer, so he wanted it in a certain position. So there was several times the boat came in and Mark Twain came in and shoot that shot.
And the big thing about this photo that stands out to me, if everyone looks, you're barefoot the whole time. As Tom Sawyer, you were barefoot the entire time.
Yeah. Most of the time, in the summertime. Started out, we'd come to work in the morning with a pair of go-aheads or bombs, whatever they're calling them. And I would take them, stick them off when I was on the island. And if I left to go back, take a break, go to lunch, and I would put back on. In the wintertime, when it was still cold, I would do protection.
And then you're 13 years old. Most of the people at Disneyland, because Disneyland had the famous 18-year-old requirement. Was that a challenge for you, being a 13-year-old kid running Tom Sawyer's Island while everyone else is a little bit older?
You learn to grow up real quick, because people didn't want to be around a child that much at work. So in terms of, I grew up with them, and had responsibilities. I had to have a job. I needed a job. My stepfather was taken off, but my mother and my two younger sisters and myself. So I was a breadwinner of the family for 7 years. The welfare system really sucks, but I was doing welfare for a while. When I turned 18, I went off. I was able to get off welfare and have to support my mother. And she ended up getting a job. She found a nice little house in Newport Beach that had enough for my sisters and her. The question was, when was I going to move out?
Now, in terms of Tom Sawyer's that didn't really grow up, there was supposed to be a backup Tom Sawyer, if you originally mentioned in your book. But the other Tom, I believe his name was Hugh Allen, ended up getting fired after just 2 weeks. What happened with him?
He got a fire. Thank God I was off that day, and got into some sort of argument with a guest, and
That'll do it. I mean, I'm glad that you ended up becoming the main Tom Sawyer after that, and it's nice that you don't have to worry about an understudy in the wings trying to take over the position at that point. Walt even asked you at one point about what changes you think should come down to the island, and you said a lot of the kids who worked with Walt, you said he never talked down to them. Would you say that was the case for you? Like a lot of people who said when they were in kid roles that Walt treated them very professionally.
Oh yeah, Walt. Like I say, Walt was in the park quite a bit, and until he got inundated with autographs, and then hardly any employees would responsibility was to ask Walt if he wanted to go backstage. And if he said yes, then he would help him get backstage. So, get autograph. He came over to the island late '56 and basically said that he was going to do a whole remake of the island. And he had some things in it. So he said, now let's go for a walk. So we walked around the whole island and said, what would you put on the island? Well, number one, I put a treehouse. We didn't have a treehouse. It was Lookout Point. It was up on the top. And I put in an escape tunnel from Fort Williams. Sure that when it came back up from rehab in 1958, we had an escape tunnel from Fort Wilderness, and we had a treehouse, castle rock, and merry-go-round rock, and a teeter-totter rock, but I won't take credit for the rocks, but I will take credit for the treehouse and the escape tunnel.
Well, and it's a really neat treehouse, though.
Yeah. And what you're looking at here is that little shack there where the water's coming down over where the punch bridge is. A little bit on that side.
That's love that. And then we have a couple more pictures of the treehouse and the rafts. Did you go back and forth on the rafts a good bit?
Yeah, if you look at the shot, the kid sitting on the island is Hugh.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's the kid that got fired. I'm standing next to him in the white shirt. Okay, that's me. And then the photographer's son is the other kid sitting down on the post. And that's right at the entrance to the Dollar's Harbor.
So that's a neat one. And then we have the rafts over here, too. Were you on the rafts a good bit?
I don't think so.
Not as much?
That's a fairly old picture. That's probably real early '56. Let's look at the gristmill. There's very little growth around the gristmill, and the trees are very small. And if you look right across the bow of the raft, that's the walkway up the paper on the chicken plantation.
It's a neat one. So I do want to ask you about this one, too. So this is one of the earliest maps of Tom Sawyer Island. So what are some of your favorite parts on the island as we look at the map here?
Well, I like forebodings, and I love the gristmill, and to watch it really, and it worked. They had to repair it occasionally because it was wear out. There's a couple spots up above there, the bloomers from the gristmill. It's very nice, quiet. To sit. When I take a break, I do it. I'd sit. The traffic. This would be like 57, 58. There's a step there. Castle Rock.
So we have another little picture of someone looking at one of the signs of Tom Sawyer Island over here on the left. There would only be one other Tom Sawyer after you. It would be Keith Murdock, I believe was his name. What can you tell me about Keith? Did you train him at all for the job?
Yes. Actually, Keith wrote a chapter in my book. Keith lived in Utah. His uncle worked maintenance at Disneyland, so he only worked in the summertime. And played Tom Sawyer for 3 years. So they replaced me in the summer of '61 when I turned 18. And for the next 3 years, he would have been on the council for fishing. So it appears to be that they didn't stop. This picture was taken by my older sister on her visit to Disneyland in 1956. We came out over from sister moved to Minnesota with their father a fishing resort.
And then we talked a little bit once you transition out of the Tom Sawyer role to become a ride operator once you're 18. We were briefly talking earlier about the Mickey Mouse Club Circus, and so we did establish what you did for that show. Do you have any favorite memories from that show?
Well, I think some of the funny things that would happen. It was a 3-ring circus, and they would bring all the animals in, and they'd go around the 3 rings, and then they'd go right out from the menagerie and run down Main Street. So they'd be chasing camels and llamas and all those things down Main Street. In turn, the Mouseketeers were heavily involved in that, and they were all in the finale. If you look at the entrance, you can see it there. Okay, that goes into the menagerie. Okay, now if you look to the right, you can see a red and white striped tent. Okay, that's the actual circus tent.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So, and later, they set that tent up, and it was at Holidayland. And Holidayland was all designed for corporations to come in and have company picnic and that thing. And it was located over at the hotel in that area, and ball fields, and basically getting a big corporate picnic. That tent.
I'm now suddenly starting to see why this attraction only lasted a few months, with you mentioning animals running down Main Street. I'm sure that was kind of a chaotic time of it. Now, you also worked at Disneyland during what and many people consider to be the golden age of entertainment in the park. And you even got to be a part of a Firehouse 5+2 performance, which for those unfamiliar, the Firehouse 5+2 was a Dixieland band made up largely of Disney animators and other Disney staff. But in your book, you talk about a keelboat stunt with firehouses that didn't quite go according to plan. And I love this story. Can you tell us about that moment?
Well, very, very popular. They had Dixieland at Disneyland. And the Firehouse Five was made up of animators from the studio. Walt Kimball and that whole group put that together. And they would have a lot of artists there that went down to the studio and to portraits with guests on Main Street there. But the first Dixieland in Disneyland that I worked was on the ranch. It set up the keelboat and had a pump on it. And there was 6 of us dressed in the firehouse costumes that ran the fire engine on Main Street. And so one guy driving the boat, okay, and 3 of us on each side, and we had a hose, and this pump was pumping water out of the rivers of America, and the Firehouse 5+2 was doing their entertainment up on the top, and the keelboat operator and inspector figure mates out there for the guess it was staged around the world of America so that they watch the show. Well, on one of the turns, he turned into a shark, and the pump lost its prime. Okay, so there are 3 of us on each side of the boat, so 6 guys with hoses, and all of a sudden there's no water coming out of the hoses. Well, a little bit of water was trickling, and it looked like 6 guys taking a big. And you could hear on the radio somebody say, "Tell those guys to put the hose down. Tell those guys to put the hose down." So that was my first experience at Dixieland and Disneyland. And then they also had the Carol Ward singers that just entertained in the Golden Horseshoe and everything. My second Dixieland and Disneyland was I operated the ramp that had Louis Armstrong. And they had built a temporary stage right in front of the gristmill. And I thought it was a temporary stage. It was scaffolding and turned had Louis Armstrong and his crew, and we went out and we did figure 8s up in front, and then what I had to do was go bring that raft around and land it on that dock. So, and if I had hit that and bumped that dock, it would drop down like a set of dominoes type thing, and offload it to Louis Armstrong and his entertainment on the stage. They did their show, and I came back to the stage and picked up Louis Armstrong, and then I drove around the island and then offloaded him onto the Mark Twain for the finale. Okay, so that was my second Dixieland and Disneyland, and pretty much had the King of Jazz around. The next 2 years, it was Al Hurt. And they had dressed us up one year, and we were, because they had titled him the King of Jazz, and we were dressed in leotards. The 2 operators were in green leotards, and the sound man was in white leotards, and so we drove Curtin around and did those figure 8s, that thing, and then we drove around the rivers of America. We had in the Mark Twain, Al Hurt doing his on it. But the funny, I don't look good in green leotard. The sound man Dominic, I got razzed by this guy. This guy's in the sound department for years of being Al Hurt's page.